It's the price of admission on the Casa De Klub.
All right, baby. We got the Sweeper Kings here in the demo den. I'm gonna sit back and let them hash it out.
I just want to hear your perspective on what you want from a catcher setting up wise, what you see, where you want a ball to end up, start, all that kind of stuff. So let's start with, since we just talked about it, let's start with your breaking ball. If you're trying to throw a breaking ball, down and away to a righty, are you looking for a certain thing from a catcher? Are you starting, do you go by starting point, or do you go by like your end point and then working back from there?
More end point, but it was also a thing that Higgy picked up from you. When you threw your Kluber ball, you wanted to rip it. You never wanted to like place it. I think the only time you would maybe place it, and tell me if I'm wrong, it's how I feel, is backdoor to a lefty. Backdoor, you can kind of like make it bigger and place it. So I wanted him out there because I did not want that to leak middle into a lefty.
The mistake is here.
The mistake is away, and it kind of sets up other pitches. To a righty, I rarely threw the Kluber ball 0-0 because I wanted to rip it as like a 2-strike pitch. So if it's a super aggressive hitter that I am trying to throw a 2-strike pitch, I'll have him set up like outer third. I developed more of like a little gyro slider. That was my pitch that I could command.
A different one for a strike pitch.
Different one, yes. Instead of like having to rip it every time, I could just locate it. And so they're like outer third, I'd say, on those sliders. But then like sweepers, it's outer third, and I'm ripping it because I almost wanted to finish on the other side of the chalk right here.
The one that Darno swung at that was outside the left-handed batter's box. Sorry, Carlos. Because I thought it was interesting. A lot of the guys in Tampa that they would talk about, they were huge on starting point. So like they would say, if you're trying to throw a slider, they're starting here. I always found that if I did that, like this is where my focus was, and I would end up backing it up. Whereas I'm much more like you, like I'm looking here and just trying to get it to that point, whichever way, like almost like oblivious to where it starts at.
And you were, obviously I'm more across my body, but I don't pick up the catcher until very, very late. So when I'm in my delivery, obviously I'm so far this way, I lift, I still haven't looked, and then by the time my foot lands, that's when I look and see it. I don't want to see where I need to start it. Like I want to see where that ball's going to finish in that spot. And so that's the same thing. My hardest thing is that front hip sinker. And I know you did it a ton, but like I need the catcher. I always say get your cup on the black. And so like that's just on the, like right on the outside corner, because if he's at all set up middle, that's where I'm going to throw it. And I understand that if I leak it way arm side and it's maybe a strike even on this side of the plate, I don't care about getting that pitch. I'm trying to locate it in. And so I need the catcher. That's like the one pitch that I need the visual of over there.
Yeah. So Jan would always, going to this side to a lefty, if he was setting up on the black, he would start with a lean here to give it even more of that visual and then work back with it.
Hey, you said umpires are better at that too, because now if you look like you're set up as a ball, and even as the pitch comes in, if it's a ball, but you kind of work with it towards the plate, an umpire now thinks that's on the plate when it's not.
Higgy would always do this one too, where he'd be set up over here. He'd give the lean, but it's just, it's not middle, but he's all the way over here, and he would just catch it on the edge right there.
He doesn't try to like body it in front of him.
Yeah. Same for your sinker, not starting, more ending.
All ending. The only one would be if I'm going into a righty early in the count. Those are the ones where I'll like kneecap a guy if he's set up where I want it to finish. So I'll have him be more like middle in, because that again is just a pitch I'm trying to get on the ground, and I'm just trying to get it in like the bottom third of the zone. If it can be more in, that's great, but I'm okay. Like my miss is when it's running. So I'd rather you err on the side of get further glove side than be way in there.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing. So like if I'm going sinker away to a lefty, I want a more outer third, which is more, I guess, where I start it. But it's really just to prevent the miss of being way out there.
So the Rays are the opposite, right? Heard you talked about it. Like they go to one spot in the middle and they let the ball play off.
So a lot of their guys their stuff is so good, their pitches are so good that they don't want them being too fine, trying to pitch too much early on in the count. They want them to, attack the big part of the strike zone early. They say get to 2 strikes and then get nasty. So they want them to get to 2 strikes as quickly as possible on the fat part of the plate and then try to be really nasty. And I think part of that is their guys have elite stuff. They also may not have guys necessarily with quite the command that he has. They have some, like Shane can work to different parts of the plate early on in counts, but not everybody has the ability to do that. And so to avoid, getting into hitters' counts and stuff, they know their stuff is good enough that, probably 9 times out of 10, they throw a strike and the fat part of the plate is not going to get hit.
Does that make it harder for a guy like you, though, like a pitchability guy?
Well, so there was a meeting in spring training where they talk about that and just starting everything and then tunneling off of it depending on which way. And Snides walked up to me at the end and he goes, none of that applies to you.
Okay.
You're not that guy. You can't do that.
Aaron Savali is one of my buddies, too. I know he's a Cleveland guy, and he's that pitchability guy. He's got 6 pitches that he knows he can locate in all 4 quadrants. And it's like he goes over to the Rays. I don't think he did super well with the Rays. And I wonder if it's because they were like, hey, just get to the middle of the plate.
Almost oversimplifying it for him.
Like, I'm sure he had Jan too in Cleveland. And it's like when you have these catchers that know sequences and his command and like his mentality behind pitching is so good that like you can't just have a guy set up middle because now that elite
it takes away something of what makes him good.
Yeah, exactly.
Agree.
Obviously you have both, but do you think you're more command or stuff? Because I feel like you're a guy that could get away with not having command because of that sinker slider combo. You could throw everything in the middle and just let it play off.
I guess I'd like to say I'm both. I definitely grew up and like even in the minor leagues, it was all command because my stuff wasn't very good. And obviously I give Kluber a lot of credit, but like once I developed the sweeper, that's when I felt like I was more of a stuff pitcher and I could get away with stuff. But I think that helped me become who I am because I had the baseline of command and then I could kind of work stuff off of that. There are obviously still just so many times where I get in trouble by leaving the sweeper middle. It doesn't matter what the movement is. But like I'd much rather pitch 2 corners because I think that gives me like the confidence of like, oh, I can locate that there. That means that I can really expand with the sweeper, or I can now go way on the bottom of the changeup, or I can elevate with the 4-seam. It's all based on the command of the fastball before I actually get to those pitches.
It's always an ongoing argument. I think that it's easier to develop stuff if you already have command versus develop command if you have stuff.
I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah, I agree. And that's, to me, that's like that's a reliever. And like the relievers are the ones that have incredible stuff and they can have a catcher set up middle every single time. Some of them have 1 pitch and they can set up middle every single time and you're still going to get guys out because it's you're facing 3 hitters. But then like the guys that actually can command it, that's where I think now you started to see a lot of relievers turn starters because they have the stuff and whether they developed it in the bullpen or not, but the command is like a huge piece in flipping a lineup multiple times.
Especially with the information too. It's probably a lot easier to teach stuff now.
Pitch stuff. Yeah.
Like guys know exactly what they need to do to throw a certain pitch.
Yep. And
guys create pitches in one bullpen session.
yeah, when they got guys that throw no hitters the next day. You have only 1? Mm-hmm. Didn't you have like a late one? Like
a couple that were like
into the 9th?
Not into the 9th, no.
All right, gents.
Nope.
The Sweeper Kings, Michael King, thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Of course.
Corey Kluber, the teacher, the professor. Casa De Klub.
Of course. No, that's super easy. It's easy talking baseball.